Howdy. Who's ready for some serious, thoroughly researched, Deltarune science? Yeah, okay. Listen. Come close. I have a bit of a confession to make. There's a certain observation I made a long time ago that I was initially kind of dismissive of, because, well, it's too absurd. And I feel like anyone who tries to talk about this is going to sound completely insane. And I don't want you guys to write me off as insane, right? But I need to talk to someone about this, otherwise I think I really will go mad. So how about this? It's April 1st, and although it is custom to play pranks, I swear to you with all the integrity of my soul that I will not present any false evidence in this video. Everything I use to back this theory will be real. But in return, I'd like to go ahead, put on this hat, and go on record saying, this is just a crack theory. It can't possibly be real. It's just a joke, haha. Please don't let this be real. But, just in case it is real, let the record show I covered it, and please be nice to each other when you debate this in the comments. I'm going to skip the be nice disclaimer, because I'm making it here so yet. Even if it seems silly, remember this is just an alternate way of looking at things, whether it turns out to be real or not. So be good, won't you? First, some quick disclaimers. Don't hassle people about the text-to-speech, just in general. People shouldn't have to defend their decisions regarding what makes them comfortable while interacting with others online. This video contains depictions of the word root, and discussions of violence, stalking, gaslighting, etc. Don't do anything you see in this video. In addition, it contains flashing lights and images, so please be careful and stay safe out there, friends. Finally, spoiler warnings for Undertale and Deltarune. If you haven't played them, go do that first. Okay, ready? I suspect that there might be something nefarious lurking in the light world, and it begins in the seedy underworld of Deltarune, with an eyewitness account from the nefarious criminal organization, known only as the Wet-Nosed Bandits. No, really? If you talk to them before they escape, they tell you that they were about to break into the Holidays Manor when they were attacked from the shadows by something merciless. Fearing for their lives, they ran towards Undyne, who promptly arrested them, which they didn't mind, because at least they'd escaped with their lives. Now, you might think they were attacked by Noelle's mother, the mayor? And I thought this at first as well, since it lines up with what we know about her. We've already heard from Rudy that she's very scary, and Alfie says she's the reason there's no crime in town, so it would make sense if she was the one on the roof. But then, isn't she supposed to be getting ready for the festival? That's what they say at City Hall, so if she was on the roof, why? Protecting her house from burglars isn't really a getting ready for the festival sort of task, but it would make sense if there was something dangerous on the loose, something she wants to catch before the festival comes and everyone is out on the streets, partying, distracted, vulnerable to attack. I don't think she's the only one either. I think this actually might explain Kris's weird behavior. All this time we've been assuming Kris is a bad kid. And that's because without any context, they look like they're constantly pulling pranks and getting into trouble. But ever since I started looking into their relationship with Noelle, I've been starting to second guess this assumption. On the normal route, when we get to this puzzle with Noelle, we, the player, have the option to jump off the switch and try to hit Noelle with the lightning. And at first, this seems like the kind of thing Kris might want to do, right? Pull a harmless little prank on Noelle? I know if you're familiar with the word root, this doesn't sound harmless at all, but the normal route certainly frames it that way, because look at the tone of this scene when Noelle pranks us back. There's no trace of malice in the way the game is framing this. Noelle doesn't seem to hold it against us, and she certainly doesn't seem like she's actually trying to hurt us. But then look at what she says about Kris's reaction. Kris, apparently, looks genuinely hurt, and that's kind of weird if you think of Kris as this chronic prankster. Like, I know we're the ones making Kris do this, but if Kris has a habit of pranking Noelle, then it shouldn't be that upsetting to have her occasionally prank them back, right? But now, looking back on it, all those times Kris supposedly pranked Noelle in the past, they actually take on a completely different framing if we assume there's something dangerous loose in town. In Undertale, human souls are the most powerful souls by far, And even if Deltarune does turn out to be playing by different rules, it's still pretty clear that Kris is exceptionally powerful compared to the monsters. Not only because they are the ones sealing the fountains, but also because Kris can remove their soul entirely and just walk around without it, like nothing is wrong. That's got to take a lot of determination. I don't think even a boss monster like Asgore could do something like that. Hot damn. Maybe that's why Kris is stealing so much food? Heck, stealing from Toriel's room also encourages Toriel to keep her bedroom door locked, offering her extra protection should this thing break into their homes. This might also be why Kris was hiding under Noelle's bed. Maybe Kris was worried something might attack her and was lying in wait beneath her bed to protect her, like a sort of hidden bodyguard. That might be what happened on the Ferris wheel too. Noelle says Kris started shaking it to scare her, but maybe Kris saw something on their cart and was trying to shake it off before it got in. This also explains why Kris slashes Toriel's tires. They're trying to protect Susie by keeping her from walking home alone in the dark. In fact, this explains why Kris has the knife in general, as a tool for self-defense. If Kris is as powerful as they seem, then of course they're climbing around on rooftops and running around in the dark. Kris is trying to find this terrifying creature first, so they can take care of it before it hurts anyone. Or maybe, before it can hurt anyone else? That's right, we're finally digging into it. Is this thing responsible for the disappearance of Noelle's sister? It's hard to make a precise timeline of this, but we know from Birdley's spelling bee, in which Noelle freezes at her sister's name, that it must have been while Noelle was very young, possibly as early as 1st or 2nd grade based on these words and sprites. Do the holidays blame the dreamers for Dess's disappearance? It seems like it, especially since we know that Asgore was kicked off the force around this time, perhaps for failing to protect their children? Or maybe it's even worse than that. Maybe Asriel and Kris are what led Des into danger to begin with. We know that when Kris, Azzy, Noelle, and Des were all kids, they went for a walk in the woods behind the cemetery late one night. Noelle says they didn't find anything, but I'd like to remind you that Noelle is not the most reliable narrator when it comes to remembering traumatic events. As in the Snowgrave Run, she demonstrates multiple times her tendency to black out events that cause her a lot of pain and guilt. First with the ring salesman, and then again with Birdley. But if we look in the code, we can actually find sprite data for an itty-bitty child Kris, specifically one that's running up, away from some unseen danger. Obviously I can't prove it, but I suspect that originally this scene was going to have some sort of a flashback. I think we were going to get a glimpse at what the 4 kids saw that night behind the cemetery, and since the sprite is running up, whatever they were running from, it must have been in the woods beneath the cemetery, possibly right here. Oh hey, look, it's the bunker. Show of hands, who's surprised by this? If you're thinking it's Gaster at this point, I don't blame you. After all, it's playing entry 17, which is from Gaster's room. But what if, hypothetically, the thing lurking around this area isn't Gaster himself, but Gaster's creation? Hear me out. Entry 17 describes the Dark Worlds as if they were one of Gaster's experiments. So if this is to be believed, then Gaster is, if not the Knight himself, then at least connected to, or possibly controlling, the movements of the Knight. Right? And we're pretty sure in Chapter 1, the Knight visited Lancer's dad, as his dialogue seems to specifically refer to a conversation between them, in which the Knight warned him we were coming, and in which the king swore to stop us at any cost. But why? What was he so afraid of? Whatever he saw, it must have been a true nightmare, given the utter destruction and chaos it left in his throne room. Wait, where have I?
Now, a night will awaken in your hearts, in the shadow of the night's hand. Lightness, can you stop it? Either way, a mischief, a chaos. Lightness, from inside your little cell. Take this and do your strongest! Metamorphosis.
Guys, I think Jevil knows. Notice the use of the word lighteners. He's not warning Ralsei about it. He's telling Kris and Susie specifically that inside their little cell, in the light world, there is a nightmare that will awaken in the shadow of the Knight's hand. That phrasing, in the shadow, and in their little cell, calls back to the dogs locked in cells after something attacked them from the shadows. I think he's actually giving Kris a hint on how to defeat it. Remember right before Kris created the fountain in their house, how they opened this door? I think they're trying to lure this creature into the dark world, where it will be easier to kill, where they can use magic and weapons, and the armor Jevil gave them. I think this is what's been giving Kris nightmares. This terrifying unknown entity, not Gaster, or the Knight themselves, but something they created. But what? What is this horrible corrupting force, stalking the town like some unseen cryptid, carving a path of pain and destruction in its wake? What is the nightmare? Oh god, the internet is going to kill me for this. April Fools. Icy isn't real, right? He can't really hurt us, right? But just for fun season, not because there is any chance this is real. What evidence might there be to support this? Well, to begin with, this creature seems to have some strange attraction to Noelle's family, the holidays, given it might have taken their daughter and be trying to break into their house. I suspect this is because of the creature's affinity for all things cold and ice. We know that Noelle's mother, for example, keeps her office very cold, and we assumed it was because she likes the coldness, but maybe she's trying to lure the creature away from her house? This wouldn't be the first time that mistake was made either, because an NPC in Sans Conbini tells us that Noelle tends to freeze up whenever she opens the freezer door, and we know from Rudy that this response of freezing like a deer in the headlights is how Noelle reacts to being frightened. So she might be freezing up from the cold, and that would jive with her reluctance to finish the ice palace alone. But you know, given that she's freezing up while looking into the freezer, there might be a certain logo in there, by the cold pizza, bringing back some very painful memories for her. Pain, as a flavor, is also brought up both by Spampton Neo, and Gast the character creator segment. Icy is further connected to Spampton and Gaster by the word puzzle. In Undertale, this puzzle is associated with the fun events, most of which turn out to connect back to Gaster, and in Deltarune completing this puzzle actually causes it to start glitching out, almost like Icy is some sort of corruptive force that causes whatever it comes into contact with to start glitching and breaking. Burger Pants does tell us that Icy's pizza is hell after all, and that we need to enjoy our freedom while it lasts. Hell and freedom, both being words that tie this weird monstrosity back to our secret bosses. Kris themselves tries to warn Noelle that Icy is real and eats children. When Susie is listing horror movies to Kris, she includes Icy the movie in the list. He's graffitied next to every man in this alley, another creepypasta type being unique to the Undertale Deltarune world. In the anniversary stream with Toby, they actually describe Icy's lair as feeling like a nightmare world in which everything is just a bit off. His flavors include pepper, onus, and a chocolate flavor that melts in your pens, not in your mouth. Which no, I'm not brave enough to explain that. Joke aborted. Actually, while we're here, I have to ask, when Burger Pants says he's dating someone with a bad quality phone, is that meant to tie back to this word Icy Pinup magazine, which has 3-pixel resolution pinups of pizza? Or, oh god, how did I get this deep into this? Why does this theory have so much content to draw upon? Is Toby doing this on purpose? Why are there crosswords about this in both games? Is it meant to be a cipher? I couldn't even crack the ciphers in Gravity Falls, so there's no way I'm going to figure this one out, especially since the weird spelling for this word isn't even consistent between games. Why? Is that a hint? Is Icy some sort of hellish demon here to devour our souls to feed its corporate overlords? Did Sans misspell it on purpose so we couldn't perform the incantation and summon this frothing abomination from the furthest string? What is this purple guy? Seriously, what is he? He's purple like Susie, but if that Susie's dead, then Susie has the best poker face I've ever seen because damn, she doesn't even bat an eye. But that's the only lead I have. No one else seems to know who, or what, he is. Both Burger Pants and this bear right here act like they've never seen him before, like he just appeared out of nowhere, started spouting nonsense, and then disappeared without a trace. No, I refuse. I don't care if the mysterious briefcase vaguely connects him to the big shot Spampton met in the cyber world. No. I will take Rule's card as Gaster first. At least their faces and builds kind of line up. Oh god, not again. Rar. Huh. Okay, I think that's about as much time as I can spend with that theory without losing my marbles completely and joining Jevil as a full-fledged chaos clown. So, thank you for joining me. Some of you guys noticed I was a tad on edge last video, and now you know why. But it's over now. We're safe. He can't get us anymore. I'm finally free. Sorry for bringing you into this nightmarish hellscape, but since we are here, what do you think about this crack theory? Is I see a real cryptid? Is the nightmare in our hearts referring to something else? Perhaps a different demon? Or are you very good with ciphers and already cracked the weird I see puzzle? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because if you don't, the dark otherworldly forces will come for my so. Holy Kungadero? Are we at 10,000 subs already? Wait, now it's 11, 12? What? Oh my goodness, thank you all so much for your support and enthusiasm. Thank you as well to ZeDynamo of Handbasket for doing the voice of Jevil, and thank you to my patrons for feeding me with your delicious grummer. I'm honored to be able to entertain you all. Since I am just one person, I'm going to start making smaller videos in between big ones, more of a hard rule, and I might need to take things a bit easier for April, but other than that, at this rate it looks like I might be able to stay with you peeps for the big one, and I never dared to dream that might be possible. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Hyperlink Blocked.